All right, guys, you ready? Because here's what your group is going to be doing. You're going to read this passage along with me as I read it out loud, and then you're going to answer the questions that follow. And just so you know, second block is in here, so if I start laughing, that's why. All right, so we're going to read a story called The Secret of Popcorn, The Secret History of Popcorn. The native peoples of Mexico were the first to grow and eat popcorn around 9,000 years ago. Later, the Aztec people of southern Mexico also grew and enjoyed this variety of popping corn. The Aztecs called it totopoco. If you say the word quickly, it kind of sounds like the popping noise that the cooking corn makes as it sizzles. Archaeologists have unearthed ancient ears of popping corn in the American Southwest. Even I didn't know that. They dropped the old kernels in some hot sand. Lo and behold, they still popped after over 1,000 years. This amazing feat is largely due to each kernel's sturdy protective outer layer, or the hull. This hard hull, it turns out, is also key to what makes popcorn pop. On the second page. Acrobatic snack. Surprisingly, no one really knew what went on when popcorn popped until recently. In 2015, two French scientists decided to unravel the secrets of the aerobatic snack. At what temperature does it pop best? What makes it jump? And most important, what makes that popping noise? Using high-speed cameras and microphones, Emmanuel Vira and Alexandro Panamerco patiently filmed and recorded hundreds of kernels popping corn at once. As they studied the slow-motion films, they made 3 discoveries. First, popcorn pops best at a temperature of 356 degrees Fahrenheit. I hope my second block is really listening to this because this may help them with some things. As an unpopped kernel heats up, water inside the kernel boils and turns to steam. Steam pressure builds up inside until there's enough to burst the kernel's tough hull. Once the hull cracks, the steam causes the starch inside, which is kind of like bread dough, to puff up and force its way out of the shell. This starch squirting out is called a leg, and it pushes against the bottom of the pot. This makes the kernel jump, much the same way that straightening a bent leg can push you off the ground and into the air. The discovery surprised scientists, and it discovered the popular rocket theory that escaping steam launches popcorn into its jump. Once it makes its first leap, the popcorn continues to bloom while it spins through the air like an acrobat. And so on your last page, you've got a picture of kind of what it looks like. It starts off this way, and then it goes on into how it looks at the end. So pop it like it's hot. But what about the popping sound? People used to think that the cracking hull causes the distinct pop sound we know and love. But Varode and Panamerco found something different. As the starch blossoms into the popcorn flake, as the popcorn's called, speeding steam echoes around the hollows in the flake to make the popping noise. And the entire process from exploded kernel to tender white flake takes just 1/15 of a second. Explaining the motion, heat, energy, and sound of popcorn touches on many different fields of science. Varode recommends popcorn as a subject for serious study and experimentation because so much can be learned from it. But popcorn science is not without peril. Panamerco recalls that while at work in their lab, the smell of popcorn would often lure other scientists to come and visit, some of whom ended up drinking all their coffee as part of their experiment. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a couple of questions and the answers, and I want you to work as a group. So if you have to stop the video while your group discusses and answers, you can do that in between each question. Okay, so get your pencils, get ready. Question 1. Which piece of evidence best explains the cause of the jump popcorn makes? Is it A, the amazing feat is largely due to the kernel's sturdy protective outer layer? B, steam pressure builds up inside until there's enough to burst through the tough hull? C, the starch squirting out, called a leg, pushes against the bottom of the pot? Or D, it is discovered the popular rocket theory that escaping steam launches popcorn into its jump. If you need to rewind it and listen to the question and answers again, you can, or you can pause it while you guys discuss and figure out what the answer is. Question 2. Read this paragraph from Pop It Like It's Hot. But what about the popping sound? People used to think that the cracking hull causes the distinctive pop we know and love. But Varro and Ponomarenko found something different. As the starch blossoms into the popcorn flake, that's what they call the pop kernel, speeding steam echoes around the hollows in the flake to make the popping noise. And just the entire process from exploding kernel to tender white flake takes just 1/15 of a second. So what's the best conclusion that's supported by that paragraph? Is it that the popping sound that the popcorn makes happens because the starch pushes through the shell? Is it B, the popping sound that popcorn makes happens because it takes 1/15 of a second? C, the popping sound that popcorn makes is caused by the cracking that happens when the hull breaks open? Or D, the popping sound popcorn makes is caused by the echoes of the speeding steam inside of the kernel? Pause it, rewind it if you need to listen to the question and answer again, and as a group decide what the correct answer is. And then you can push play and go on to your next question. There's only 2 more. Question 3. Which sentence from the article is best supported by image 2 in the section acrobatic snack? Is it that A, once the hull cracks, the steam causes the starch inside to puff up and force its way out of the shell? B, this makes the kernel jump, much the same way that straightening a bent leg can push you off the ground and into the air? C, once it makes its first leap, the popcorn continues to bloom while it spins through the air like an acrobat? Or D, explaining the motion, heat energy, and sound of popcorn touches on many different fields of science? So again, you can pause, rewind, and listen again. You can pause it while the group answers the question and push play when you're ready to begin. Last question. How do image 2 and text in the section acrobatic snack develop a coherent understanding of popcorn? In other words, how do those 2 features of the text help you understand the way popcorn is formed better? Is it A, they both explain the answers to 3 questions that the 2 scientists had about popcorn? Does it B, show that both the ideal temperature for making popcorn is actually 3? Both of those things show that the ideal temperature is 356 degrees. C, both explain that the reason popcorn makes the popping sound has to do with the cracking hull? Or D, both demonstrate the steps it takes for a kernel of corn to become a popped piece of popcorn? Pause it, rewind it, listen to the question, answer it as a group. And when you're done, your question and your passage both need to go into your folder. All right? And if you're finished, then you can watch some of the videos that are on this webpage. All right?